Howdy again there, YouTube. Just wanted to show you guys my custom Western Field 31A, which is also a Mossberg Model 40 if you're interested. I made some modifications to this, but the main reason that I did that was when I got this gun. This was my wife's grandfather's gun that he used back in the 30s to fill the pot, but when I got it, it wasn't working. And I also have a Mossberg 42, and it has the same bolt system. And there's some critical failures of design when they did this bolt, and I'll try to take you through some of it. If you have one that fires sometimes or doesn't fire at all, or fires most of the time but then stops sometimes, I can show you how to fix that most of the time, and we'll do that later on in this video. But I just kind of wanted to walk you through some of the modifications I made to it. I put this muzzle brake on it, which of course is completely pointless because you can't get the mag tube out, so that's something to consider before you take the time to thread the barrel. I put a rail on the bottom here. I had the short one on the bottom, but I wanted to have a foregrip. Once I ended up having to hold it up for a long period of time. The foregrip really does make a difference as far as fatigue goes. I've got a BSA pistol scope on here with a long eye relief mount that I made. I had to take the barrel off and all the magazine and everything off to get that to do that. I turned the barrel down so that it was a consistent diameter, and then I made this aluminum sleeve that's got a flat bottom that fits into the stock, and it works really well. I don't have a wandering zero or anything like that. Now I also cut the ejection port open wider. It's not really there for safety, it was just there because that was the easiest way for them to mill that part. And I haven't noticed any kind of blowout or anything, you know, no gas coming out of the side. Now this little bar in here, that's something else you need to be aware of, because if this bar doesn't fit into the slot in the top of the bolt, it will bind here and it won't close all the way, and you'll have issues. Now it's interesting that this is a cock-on closing, which is kind of different than most 22s. So let's go ahead and pull this bolt out, and I'll show you what you need to really be careful of. Okay, so here we got the bolt out. Now obviously you need to take the screw out, but to take this head off, all you need to do is rotate this that's the firing pin. Rotate that so that it clears the notch, and it'll come out like that. Now there's a little spring inside of here, right there, that you do not want to lose, because if you lose that, you won't have any return on your firing pin. So what I did on this firing pin is that I cut this notch back right here so that it extended out further, so you get a more consistent firing on your primer. I was using some Aguila ammo, and it had really hard primers, and I was having nothing but misfires with it. So that's one thing that you need to definitely address. That would be the first thing that I did if I had a problem. And also, sometimes these firing pins, they'll bind on the side, so you can take them and grind them flat, or just use a really fine file and then some fine sandpaper. Because if this thing hangs up at all, if there's any kind of resistance, see how nice and smooth that is? If there's any kind of resistance, then that thing is going to drag as it goes forward. And there isn't a lot of force behind this spring to begin with. And I was going to change the spring, but since I've made these couple just simple modifications, I found that I don't have to do anything. It just works now. Now I'd also recommend, if you're going to do any kind of gunsmithing work, is to get some of these gunsmithing screwdrivers. You can notice that they're not straight like a regular carpentry screwdriver, because carpentry screwdrivers are meant to slip out so that you don't over torque them. So anyway, now I've got this out, and you just pull it straight back, and you can see it's got a two-part hammer here. Well, not with my finger in the way, you can't. It's got a two-part hammer here. Now all of this needs to be the same diameter, and it's not. It doesn't come from the factory like that. Usually one of the two pieces will be large, too large, and you can sand this down, polish it, and then inside of here there is some really shoddy workmanship going on in there. It's like they just like brazed the bolt handle on there and just left it. So all those little pock marks in there, I had to get them down to that level to begin with. They were bumps. And so this whole striker, hammer assembly was just dragging on its way through here. And you can see this isn't a very big or powerful spring. So that's going to be an issue if this stuff doesn't fit in there properly. But, that's Mossberg for you. But now that I've done that, this is a sweet shooting little gun. It's very accurate. Ground squirrels will tell you, well, they can't tell you now because they're all dead, but that this little bugger can really throw them out there. And as I said, I was using Aguilas before, but I found something even better. And those are the CCI Quiet 22's. I don't know if you guys are familiar with those, but they are freaking awesome. They're not exactly the most accurate thing. Similar to Aguilas, but it kind of gives the animal a fighting chance. Which is kind of fun, and you get the Kentucky windage factor because they drop so fast. But they're really fun and really affordable. I think they're $3 a box at Walmart when they have them. So anyway, I hope that this was enlightening, and I would really, if you have one of these old Mossbergs, they're actually decent guns for how crappily they're put together. They're actually fairly well thought out designs as well, except for when they went to manufacture them, they started cutting corners. And then you ended up with something that's really not as great as it could have been. And I don't know, because I've never bought a new Mossberg, but I would imagine that these probably wore down over time. This gun was shot a lot. When I got it, it was really cruddy inside. And the Model 42 was not, though. But it had the same problem. And by doctoring the firing pin, by moving that shoulder back, and just giving it that little bit of extra room to move forward and polishing everything, it all worked out. The only thing that I might try is to put a stronger spring in here, give it a little more snap, because it does seem to be kind of weak, and that's probably just from repeated firing and lack of maintenance. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you learned something. And if you have one of these, by all means, they're not really worth anything, so you might as well just go ahead and try what you can. So, thanks for watching. See you next time. And for today's extra content, I have a pair of Turkish modified, well, made G1 bayonets. And these are, I bought about 100 of these about 20 years ago, and I kept 3 of them. I can't find the other one right now. The other one is really cool. It's a World War I German Rosettes bayonet. It's been turned into a G1. And they did this a lot, like with the 1935 pattern rifle bayonets. They modified anything that they could get. They got a bunch. I think this is a British bayonet here. This, I have no idea, but you can tell they were shortened down from longer bayonets. So you can find all kinds of really cool, old, rare bayonets that have been butchered into this configuration. These are the 2 of the nicest ones that I got out of the lot, and this one still has the black finish on the blade. Now, I heard from a Turkish colonel that I talked to when I first bought these that they actually took the black off of here so that when they attacked like Cyprus at night, that they would flash, the bayonets would flash and intimidate the enemy troops. So I don't have any reason to doubt him, and since he would know, I'm going to take that as probably being true, because most of the ones that I've seen have all the finish removed. This was the only one out of about 100 bayonets that still had the blue-black finish on it. So, I hope you enjoyed this extra content, and thanks for watching.